And welcome to the Throwback Guitar Lounge podcast, episode number 28.
This is a special episode. It's a lead up to the big throwback website Christmas, Black Friday to Cyber Monday sale. And we're announcing that we'll have a special episode for that to mark that special occasion. Next week, instead of the Saturday podcast, it will air Friday, and we will demonstrate the items that will be on sale for the Throwback Electronics Black Friday sale. It's the only sale we do a year. And to show our Christmas spirit here, Matthew has cookies.
These were a gift from Bonnie.
Bonnie is the wife of Todd, the other sort of invisible throwback member here of the workforce. He's not usually here on our podcast days.
We have to have him on the podcast.
So we'll have a cookie here. Thank you, Bonnie, for the cookies. See, I gotta watch myself eat one right there.
See how nice they are?
They got like a little Christmas tree on them.
Let's have a bite here.
Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you, Matthew, for handing me that cookie. Hopefully this won't. You're covered in crumbs now. Hopefully this won't affect our articulation. Okay. So
we need to have a little Christmas tea.
So you got tea there. Okay. So we'll talk about the guitar argument, Matthew. The guitar argument today will be: will tariff modelers stomp out?
Tariffs and modelers.
Oh, sorry. Tariffs and modelers. Will tariffs and modelers stomp out USA-made boutique pedals?
That's coming up in the guitar argument.
We're going to talk about that.
Yep.
And first, we are going to go straight to the throwback mailbox. And we're going to start playing show the guitars right off the bat.
Well, that's what people want to see. They want to see.
They don't want to see us. They want to see and hear guitars. We've determined that.
Yes. We do better when we show guitars and talk less.
Yeah. So the question, email question was, we had a potential customer ask if we had any clips of the PG-102 set in an ES-335, and the answer is no. And so we will provide that right now, and we will quickly follow up with a player grade vintage segment that showcases the guitar that I installed these in long ago, because the PG-102 is our Peter Green sort of esque out of phase model.
Did you just say no?
Did I say no about what?
I thought was the question that did we have a?
Oh, I said no, we didn't have a clip.
Oh, okay.
But we're going to produce a clip right now.
Okay, we've got it.
So
I thought they said did you have a guitar?
The no, but is followed by an affirmative of yes.
Okay. That
we will be doing the clip right now.
I thought you were talking about the guitar.
Oh, no. I hope that's all clear. Yes and no. But the PG-102 is associated with Peter Green. Mm-hmm. Well, the Peter Green tone, which is, of course, a solid body Les Paul tone, but the PG-102 set is a great choice for a sort of 59 era, medium to high output PAF tone, Alnico 5. So I long ago put one in my 1967, one of my 1967 ES-335s, which I will reveal right now. Here comes drum roll. Oh.
It's interesting that you brought up the Peter Green tone, because in
delayed drum roll
in my musical musings, which is coming up. I have something related to the Peter Green guitar and all that.
Okay.
So that's
little.
That's
right. You do. It's a
hint.
So anyway, let's show the guitar here real quick. Oh no,
that's not me.
That's you. Okay, there it is. We'll talk about this later. But in the player grade vintage, but again, this is a 67 ES-335 with Peter Green PG-102 pickups, Throwback Electronics PG-102 pickups, and these PG-102 pickups are associated. You know, the Peter Green tone is associated with an out of phase tone, but they are available on the website with a normal middle position tone. So this guitar does not have the out of phase tone. Right? So this is useful for anybody who might be considering a sort of medium to high, medium kind of scraping the edge of the high output PAF territory with Alnico 5. All right, let's hook up everything here, Matthew. You get your bass.
I need a bass.
You need the bass. We'll take a quick pause here. Be right back with all of that set up. We're back. Let's show the guitars. Matthew, you got the bass there. And again, by the way, that bass is a 1963 Epiphone Newport Deluxe. One of the rarest basses that Gibson/Epiphone ever produced.
How many were made? You said 75?
And I think it might be in the 60s.
Really?
It's a small number. What do you think of the bass, Matthew?
Very nice. Unique. Very nice.
Yeah.
Small scale.
Yeah.
2 pickups, so.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So again, we will get right to the guitar playing, and then we'll follow up and talk about this guitar here. You ready, Matthew?
Yep.
Okay. Oh. Try that again. Sort of give you a quick rundown of the guitar and why this fits into the player grade vintage category. And well, let's see here. I'm going to unplug the jack, don't I? Okay, so this is a 67, Matthew, and as a 67, it has the narrow nut. And again, I've mentioned this before. The narrow nut is era of Gibson is your cheaper entry point into a vintage Gibson, and again, 67 is they're exclusively the narrow nut era, which begins about 65. So, but other than that, the appointments on this guitar are are basically identical to a 64. Who do you associate most with this color of red ES335, Matthew?
In the 335?
Famous guitar player.
Well, I would say probably Eric Clapton.
That's right. So I saw this and thought this is like my cheap entry point into an Eric Clapton-esque 335. So one of the things that made this player grade vintage is that someone had already done me the favor of taking it off the trapeze tailpiece and putting on a stop tailpiece, which is what everybody wants in these guitars, but since you've now monkeyed with a vintage guitar, it devalues it. Right? This had the trapeze tailpiece originally. Gibson was not making them with the stop bar tailpiece in 67. But so that helped drive the price down, but I got the feature that I wanted. Another sort of interesting point of this era of guitar is 67, they transitioned over to the narrower beveled pickguard. But this one still has the old sort of curled up wide bevel pickguard like a 64. I don't know if you can see that, but see how much it's kind of warped over the years and shrunk? And that's what you'd expect out of a 64. This one still has that style. So it kind of maintains that look. And another thing I didn't realize until a little after I got the guitar, it had a vintage switch tip on it. The Catalan or Bakelite switch tip. I took it off and put it on my 52 to 57 conversion. But I think just that tip now, if you have an original one, I think they're like $500.
Wow.
So maybe even more than that for all I know at this point. But that was kind of a nice bonus. The guitar, when I got it, someone had put white pickup rings on it, and it had, I think it had Seth Lovers in it. It had some sort of aftermarket pickup in it. But the electronics were still the vintage electronics with Black Beauty capacitors. And, except for the pickups. And I put the throwback M69 rings on this. So it has a nice, really nice, officially this would be a Indian Rosewood fretboard, but this is a very dark fretboard.
And that is Indian Rosewood?
Well, it's supposed to be, so I'm going to go with that. But I think you could mistake it for Brazilian. It's as dark as it is all.
No, it's a good-looking guitar. Now, the bridge.
Oh.
Did they do any, is there any other changes that they had to make to put the stop tail?
They had to drill it. They had to drill the anchors for it. Okay. I did put nickel parts on it because I thought, well, I'll complete the look of it. It did have the chrome bridge on here, and I think it had a chrome tailpiece that, well, I've repurposed somewhere. And, but I mean, that's all I had to do. I had to kind of, for the look of it, it was not original, obviously. So maybe you wouldn't want to do that to a completed guitar that hadn't been, had the tailpiece, that it still had the original tailpiece and everything. You'd want maybe want chrome parts for that. But this one, it was like, that's why it's player grade vintage. And at the time, my rule for this stuff was I would not pay more than you could get a Gibson custom shop guitar for, generally. And I think at the time that was like $2,400. And I got this I had set the limit for these in this condition at $2,000. And this fell below that. In fact, I said no to one that still had the original pickups. If someone put a stop tail piece on, that they wanted like $2,200 for, and I wish I had purchased that.
So very reasonable.
But at the time, very reasonable. These are obviously more now, but still, if you compared the price of this to a 64, it'd be night and day difference in price. And again, you could still get something like this at a better price if it didn't have the original. If someone had swapped out the parts, which someone did before me. I didn't do it, but. And
what is the era of the narrow nut? When does it start?
65.
65.
65. Till I think in 1970 they get a little wider.
A good 5 years.
Yeah, I think I'm right on that. Don't quote me for sure on that, but I'm pretty sure that that the 70s they kind of figured out that maybe that's not the preferred thing. But again, I learned on a 67 J45, and it seems totally fine to me. So, all right, let me put that away. Matthew, you can put your bass away.
Okay.
Let's do a drum roll here. We'll get on with the show. Okay, we're back, Matthew. We should talk a little bit about the PG102 pickups as well. I think in the 335.
Okay.
They have oriented Alnico 5 magnets in them, which makes them, I would describe it as a little faster attack than Alnico 2 and a little punchier in the mids. I think that probably comes across in what we just did there. But kind of if you contrast that with the SLE 101, that it has Lion Alnico 2, which I have in a 335 as well. That's the SLE 101's a little more compressed, a little more compressed pick attack, and a little scooped in the mids, a little warmer on the low end. So, but these work really well if you're looking for a punchy, powerful, fast attack in a ES335, which often a semi-hollow guitar needs a little bit of support in the mids and a little bit of support in the attack. So if someone's looking for sort of a mid to higher output PAF set, it's a good candidate. And I think that covers it. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think. I feel like I've missed something, but anyway, let's go on to the guitar argument, Matthew.
The reason why people are here.
And again, we will remind them. I'm going to have a bite of this cookie, just to.
I'll join you there.
Energize myself for this. What's to come.
We need to get some sugar in our bloodstream.
Yeah. So, I hope this doesn't disturb the audio-only podcast listeners. But it's just a cookie with a little Christmas tree on it. Thank you again, Bonnie.
Thank you.
And Todd, for choosing such a wonderful lady.
Yes.
Okay.
I wonder what he's going to be bringing in next week.
That's right. Okay.
Maybe something.
Maybe listeners. Maybe we'll just make this the treat of the week. Do you think?
That'd be a new segment, maybe.
Okay. So the
maybe cookies in the shape of guitars.
That would make sense, wouldn't it? Yeah. Why not? Okay. So will tariffs and modelers stomp out USA-made boutique pedals? This is in the news right now.
Yes.
Obviously the tariffs we've talked about, but the boutique, the modelers, a hot topic right now on the gear page because Trey Anastasio, am I getting the name right? Fish.
Yep, the guitarist for Fish.
He has replaced his collection of boutique pedals that he would bring on live performances with a modeler, the Line 6 M5, apparently. And according to him, there isn't a person on earth blindfolded that could hear the difference between the two. So you combine that with the reality of tariffs and how this is impacting the USA boutique pickup pedal people, manufacturers, of which we are a very small part because we make the Overdrive Boost, Throwback Overdrive Boost, and the Throwback Strange Master. We have sunsetted the Stonebender and Fuzz Haze for the foreseeable future. But, by the way, Overdrive Boost is very popular among Nashville musicians. I didn't really even fully realize how that was part of several well-known guitar players' toolkits. But we knew Rob McNally and Justin Ostrander has one. And I had a mixer guy, engineer from Nashville, who said he's seen other people with it too. He wanted to stop by when he was in town. And anyway, so we're part of that group in our own little way. But Matthew, we're going to argue a guitar argument about this, and you are going to take which side of this?
I'm taking the doom side of the argument that
you're all doom and gloom. You're going to
that this quarter is the beginning of the end for the small U.S. boutique guitar effect pedal industry.
It's done. It's going.
It's starting to go. It's going to. This is what's going to be the tipping point. This.
Okay. And I'm the sunny side of the argument. You're just all wet about that. Okay, Matthew. This is we're all familiar with the guitar argument. It's 5 minutes.
Put it over there so I want to see.
Okay, you want to see. All right. So take a little drink of water. I think that it'll help you out with your argument.
That's my tea.
Okay. Do you actually have tea in there?
Well, if it's Christmas tea, you have to.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Christmas cookies and tea.
Well, you didn't get me any.
Sorry.
Okay. All right. 5 minutes starts now.
Okay. Q4, where we are right now.
Fourth quarter.
People who don't
For
know.
business lingo.
Is the beginning of the end for the small boutique.
The beginning of the end.
And it's going to get worse in 2026.
Lay it out for us.
The
Why?
tariffs, or as my wife likes to call them, the tariffs, are going to hurt the industry in a bad way.
That's a very folksy way to say tariffs.
I know. I don't know where she got that, but that's what she calls it. The big problem is that these smaller American companies are relying on components from China and from Vietnam and from other Asian countries. So all this stuff's being imported. They were already being hit by, I think, Section 301 tariffs that were already in place before Trump put up these new reciprocal tariffs. The reciprocal tariffs are eating away at any kind of margins they had. And it's forcing them to delay expansion, stop hiring, in some cases consider, if not starting, to lay people off because they're making no money. So,
well, okay. So the obvious solution to this is you charge more money for the pedals, right, Matthew?
That is a solution. Yes. So
you're getting a USA made pedal. Now I guess you're right. I guess you're right. The components do come from overseas, but isn't there a groundswell of USA made positive fervor in order to pay more for effect pedals? It is so that we can enjoy the U.S. assembled product and the innovation that comes from that.
Well, the problem is even the people who are on the front lines of this, so the people, places like Earthquaker, I believe are they in Toledo, Ohio. And
no, you're supposed to argue. You're discussing. I want argument. I want you to.
Well, okay.
You just give it to me. Give me the hard facts.
They are paying GHS is now paying double for his foot switches on his pedals because of tariffs. So he was expecting to pay $100,000. I think they were $1 a pop. He's going to be paying double. So his out-of-pocket cost for that part.
People pay more for USA made.
Well, this is true, but it's the parts that's the problem. So yes, if you still want USA made.
Are you telling me there's not a apparatus and infrastructure already in place to have these parts made in the USA?
Well, the problem is it's time. Because in the meantime, these guys are going to be bleeding money, and by the time you get these factories set up to say make the parts here that they want, it's like it's over. Like the pay,
I see. So
I'll do a patient.
The time involved to make said components in the U.S. that lag is the realities of business are that people are running so close to in terms of profit margin that break. If they were to do that, is too much time.
I'll do an analogy I did an emergency medicine course a couple weeks ago.
Why?
So if the patient's bleeding right now, you got to stop the bleeding and to try to keep the patient alive. If you have to run too far to go get help or to get something to stop the bleeding, it's all over. So it is a timing issue. Maybe in the future, if all these things are available, you could restart.
The lifeblood of businesses
money.
Is money, and must be profitable in order to operate the business.
Right.
And when that lifeblood is of operating a business is interrupted or just delayed, you may have a patient that can't survive the
that
that
time
incident.
Period. Now, maybe the American consumer is like, that's okay. I still want to buy my GHS pedal or my Earthquaker or my Cusack or my
Listen,
Throwback pedal.
if you've ever looked at the gear page, you know that people are willing to pay top dollar for everything. I'm ruining my argument here.
Well, not necessarily. Not necessarily. No, I mean that's what your argument is. Your argument is that the consumer will still want to buy USA made.
It's a little tongue in cheek because okay, we're done with that. Let's go right into this. I can't even convince myself that this is that it's not a real problem because I mean, if you look at the gear page, that's often the main topic of like this item's way too expensive.
They hit an upper limit now of what they're willing to pay.
Well, I think it's that's kind of been the tone of it very often. Is that the loudest voices on there are the voices that talk about things being too much money, and so they're often looking for the cheapest alternative, the cheapest good product, right? And all USA made anything is not going to be the cheapest good product.
No.
Okay, we're going to the cool down, Matthew, and there's a lot of info in this cool down because you researched this, and there are some kind of sobering numbers with this, and I had kind of mentioned this that sort of the whole premise of tariffs with electronics is that there is an electronics industry already in place here that you could get a supply of parts from, and the answer is there's not. There's not an electronics industry in the U.S. of any scale that would provide the integrated circuits, the resistors, the capacitors, and the switches for an effect pedal. I think you might be able to find the enclosures. Hammond used to make them, but my guess is those are now made overseas. Mm-hmm. Could be wrong on that, but Hammond, that's the only thing I can think of that you could get circuit boards probably done here, but you'd pay a lot more for it. As far as the printed circuit board, and you would get the. I mean, that's all I can think of. The capacitors generally that are made in the U.S. are too large. They're not the right size for an effect pedal. I can't think of much of anything else. Maybe the wire, but so much of it's printed circuit boards now anyway. That's not a factor. Okay, so what do you have for this cool down here, Matthew? You've got some info from pedal makers' commentary on this. And I related it in my own experience with this, just buying a knob, that it was 25% more just for a little simple knob.
Well, there was you can go online. There's an article from Guitar World that interviewed all the big sort of guitar effect pedal manufacturers. But the one that struck me, because it's based here in West Michigan, was Cusack Music. John Cusack at Cusack. He's saying. The real question might be, is this stuff going to go offshore? Are these?
You mean ultimately the whole thing? I mentioned this too with the turbo tuner, that this as an example, not really quite recognizing the scope of it.
But he's talking. He has 30 employees in nearby Holland, Michigan.
And by the way, John Cusack does the sub-assemblies for our pedals.
Right.
I started making them all by myself, but to have that resource so close. Years ago, I realized, it's just insanity not to take advantage of it. So he's been doing our sub-assemblies for quite a long time.
So he has, I believe, according to the article, this article is from June of this year. He's got 30 employees. He talks about in the article maybe having to let go 5. And then he talks about, the worst case scenario is that the whole company goes offshore and he loses all his employees.
Yeah. So when you think about it, they're already pedal makers already get all of their parts from overseas. So they're paying for the shipping of the parts. They're paying for, without tariffs, they're paying to ship them here. Obviously, it was economical enough for them to do that. But their whole price model was based upon that price. And now they're faced with a significant increase in the price of the components. And then the calculus becomes, do you actually continue making the same thing, but only ship one thing? You ship the completed pedal, and your choice, if you're a pedal maker in the U.S., you're basically you already have a completed product when it shows up, so you're just paying tariffs on the one completed product.
Right.
You don't have to worry about the logistics of getting multiple components, of shipping multiple components. You don't have to you don't have to have the same workforce that you had to manufacture in the U.S. So ultimately, you probably end up more profitable as a company. So taking that approach than trying to make manufacturing those same items in the U.S. with overseas made parts, because there's just no USA made alternative for those parts here. For us, it's not quite the same thing, because we're talking about mechanical parts and pieces for a throwback USA made pickup assembly that, we can get bobbins molded here. We can get metal parts stamped here. We can get machine shops to make keeper bars. We can get, the wood here. We can get screws made in the U.S. We can do all of that. Those resources are here. But electronics long ago, unless you're talking about, computer semiconductors, those kind of nuts and bolts electronic resources are gone from the U.S. In fact, there's another part of it. Before tariffs, so we had stacked volume pots made for us by CTS. CTS is in Taiwan. Mm-hmm. After I did that, I thought I'll get I'll look further into getting further varieties of these made. And one of the sales places was like, well, we can do these in China, and it was a fraction of the cost. So, the argument might be right now that Taiwanese prices components are available. I don't know what the tariffs are with those, but I'm assuming there's tariffs on those parts, but you now also have, I assume you have a lot of companies that in the last maybe 10 years have weaned themselves off of Taiwanese components over to Chinese components, which are, even with that comparison, are much cheaper than Taiwanese components. So they've gotten used to a supply chain that has a very low price. Mm-hmm. And upsetting that is obviously going to be problematic for a lot of them, because their whole pricing structure is based upon getting the cheapest thing possible, that's good quality. Okay, was there more to add to that, Matthew?
Well, the other thing is that export numbers of U.S. musical instruments, they say, are already down 8 to 9% compared to 2021 to 2024. So they're saying the numbers are showing that this is happening in real time.
I wonder how it's affected the U.S. guitar market. So this is exports out of the U.S.?
Yeah, those are U.S. exports.
Yeah, because I think we're overwhelmingly the biggest guitar market. The U.S. is. But in terms of that, do you think there's going to be a groundswell of people that are like, I will actively buy the most expensive USA made pedal, because even though there's and excuse me, the cookies, I'm still in good shape, fine. But is there going to be people that are like, I must have the USA made pedal, even though this overseas alternative is great. And are people going to really protest if their USA made pedal is now made exclusively in China? I don't see that happening, because I don't think you're going to get something that is feature wise any different.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I tend to just I have maybe 4 or 5 pedals that I kind of like, which I currently own. So if something happens to one of those, then I'm looking at to replace them. But I'm not constantly looking to.
Yeah,
I think people almost get them as like a default, Christmas present of people of a certain age who are into guitars.
Well, it's a quick way to satisfy the need, the desire to have a sort of a how do you put it, an inspirational guitar item.
You can,
right? It's useful. I mean, I do it. Everybody's does this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's part of the fun of playing the guitar is that you can do. There's all sorts of accessories that you can buy to kind of keep you interested in the gear that you already have and the sounds that are possible with more gear, right? And I think that the other thing, and I think this has a little bit more ramifications for people that make USA made stuff. I'm anticipating this. We haven't had any big orders for things like base plates or bobbins since tariffs. But I'm fully anticipating that the USA made companies that make our stuff, like we have a stamper that makes our base plates with our tooling, I'm assuming that they're going to have a higher demand for USA made parts. And what happens when a company has higher demand? They raise prices. Mm-hmm. So lead times will probably be longer than they already are. And they will probably have higher demand. And that will further raise the price. And the other part of it is the raw materials for things like nickel, silver, I think plastics still come from the U.S., but a lot of the raw materials that go into these parts are globally sourced, and that's going to raise the price. So I'm anticipating that we're going to have a disproportionate increase in our parts, even though they're made in the U.S. I'm going to find out real soon.
I know Fender has already. I've read that Fender is going to or anticipating that in 2026 the prices will go up 5% at least.
Yeah, to me that sounds low. With the reliance that a company like that has on, they have all sorts of lines that are reliant upon overseas production and parts. 5% seems low.
I
think it's still going to be, I don't know, 10-15%. I really don't know, but 5 seems low. I mean, how do you absorb 20-25% increasing your supplies and only do a 5% increase in the? I mean, maybe.
Maybe you're looking at, say, a 5% increase on a $1,500 instrument.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay.
But I just bought I went to Guitar Center locally here in Grand Rapids and picked up some thumb screws for the original Fender parts for the piggyback amplifier to hold the amp onto the cabinet. And it says right on the back, it's an official, genuine Fender part, but it says made in South Korea.
Oh, does it really?
Yeah.
I would think that'd be the sort of thing they might have made here, Logan. It's just like a little knob.
Yeah, two little knobs.
Those little knurled things that hold the head on?
Yeah.
I'm surprised because that seems like a fastener thing that would be easily sourced here. I believe Fender even has a fastener company that they purchased.
Really?
Yeah. But there was probably someone making it. It's all comes down to dollars and cents too with a lot of this stuff, especially for big manufacturers.
What was the one company we saw at NAMM? Was it Honeybee?
Yeah, that is a. And now this is not a knock on any of these parts. Very often they're very well made.
Oh yeah.
But Honeybee is a big supplier of component pieces for guitar pickups, and they're in Korea, correct? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they've got booths at NAMM, and
they have all sorts of parts.
Yeah, all sorts of parts. So, yeah, there's a whole industry. There's a whole cottage industry. Now, we're not just talking about two big companies like Fender. There's a cottage industry for effect pedals and pickups that, and even cottage industry of smaller boutique guitar makers that rely upon parts that it wouldn't make sense for them to have tooling made for,
right?
And so they can get them on demand, and that's the other thing. And we suspect that we're not going to name names, but we suspect that it has also interrupted the supply chain, because we have had guitar makers contact us today saying that they had a special run of guitars, mm-hmm. and that the person that the pick maker that was to complete the order was not able to do it, and could we supply the pickups, because the guitars are made and they want the completed pickups done. So we're kind of thinking like, well, how does that happen? And we thought, well, perhaps the supply chain for the overseas parts that so many of the smaller pickup makers rely upon was interrupted. And the way it would be interrupted would be the larger of these smaller pickup makers would foresee the problem of demand and also want to stock up on cheaper parts, knowing that tariffs are going to raise the price, and so they just load up the truck or the ship with parts, and they've created an instant supply problem.
Right.
And instant supply problems like that don't get fixed right away. The likelihood is the people making the parts will be, well, it's a 3-month lead time, because they make all myriad of parts. They don't make just guitar stuff necessarily, or so. That's something that I think it can create a demand or a supply problem amongst these. So you interrupt that also, even if a company's got I've got the money to put up for these parts and I'm charging to be able to accommodate it. If the parts aren't there, then you've interrupted the income from those jobs. Yeah, there's like all sorts of little sort of facets to the potential problem with it. Okay,
it's a domino effect.
It is a bit of a domino effect. Yeah. Okay, Matthew, we're done with that. We're gonna do Rorschach riffs. You're gonna do Rorschach riffs.
Yes, please.
And you have if people are not familiar with Rorschach riffs, Matthew, I've done it a few times, but I find it scary. I really do.
You shouldn't find it scary.
It's hard to remember them. Yeah, but he's going to play 4 riffs.
I'll play 4 riffs.
Rapid succession.
You got to figure them out.
Well-known riffs.
Yeah, there's one in here. I can't give you. This one came to me. I was thinking, because I was stuck on a 4th, and I said,
should I have heard this song?
Yes.
But I'm going to associate with a guitar riff.
Yes, you will. I think you should be able to get it. But I think the song might have been bigger in Canada than it was here. But it was big here, too. Because I've seen this band in Grand Rapids.
Name the biggest obscure Canadian pop star that we're not familiar with.
French Canadian? Or
it could be, whatever you want to.
Rock Voisine would probably be the...
What?
There was a guy by the name of... he was big in Quebec, and then not so big but it was well known in English Canada too. But the biggest Canadian pop star, that's a good question that you wouldn't know of.
Isn't there some kind of folky pop star man that was big in Eastern Europe that is just like totally known in the U.S., unknown in the U.S.? The reason this was in the 70s and 60s, I think. The reason I mentioned
he was from Eastern Europe, though?
No, he was American, but for some reason he was like a hit in Eastern Europe and in Russia. I'm sidetracking it, but I think I saw that one of these records in I used to work at Musicland, and there was one in there, and I'm like, who the heck is this guy? And then I think the manager explained to me who he was.
Oh, really?
And then I saw some documentary about him, and it was true. Anyway.
Well, we did. I'm thinking of probably one you probably wouldn't know.
I have a vague recollection. He played sort of an electric guitar-shaped acoustic.
Okay, this one.
Someone in the audience will know this.
I don't know. Yeah.
Okay, I could be totally wet about the guitar thing, but go ahead.
Okay, so one that was big in Canada that people in the United States will know, his brother is Ian Thomas, and of the Ian Thomas band. I don't know if people in the States really know who Ian Thomas was, but he was Dave Thomas's older brother, Dave Thomas of SCTV fame.
Okay.
Bob and Doug McKenzie with Rick Moranis.
But everybody knows everybody, and everybody's related in Canada, right?
Exactly. Everyone knows Bob or Bill.
There's only a few people up there.
There's only a handful. But Ian Thomas was quite popular, and that might have been because, we had laws about how much Canadian content had to be on the radio.
But no laws about how close of a relation you can marry.
Yeah, we don't have any of those kind of laws.
Well, you get fewer people. The options narrow. I've probably alienated every Canadian viewer. I'm joking.
I know he's joking, so I'm not going to take it seriously.
Okay. So let me get your guitar here,
all right,
Matthew.
Here we go.
You have a Fender product.
Yeah, we have a Fender.
Okay, this fine guitar I once owned. I sold this to you, and it has throwback. You got your. Here. I got to get you a chord here.
I don't know which chord I should have.
Okay, it's this one right here.
And I'm not sure which throwback. I couldn't tell you what throwback.
I think it's a T64 set.
T64?
Believe so. Pretty sure. Is there? There's probably a note in the case.
I'll take a look, but I'll take a look again. I'm not sure.
Okay, you got any audio there?
And does it have the hot bridge? Let's see. Do you want
I think it does. I think it's a T64 with a hot bridge. Oh, let's show the guitar
show
here.
The guitars, people can see.
Let's see. Here's your Rorschach riffage. Now, I sold this guitar. I wanted to buy something, and then I wanted the funds from that to buy it. Now I don't remember what I bought. It's a nice guitar, though. I forget what these are called. It's got the fatter neck or the thicker neck.
I think it was like something like, wasn't it like a hot rod vintage?
Oh, it's a hot rod. That's it. Hot rod. Yeah.
Because it's basically an American vintage had like I think it has a bigger fret wire. I think it's a 9.5 radius, and then it had like a hot bridge and
and it's
and a bigger neck. You said,
yeah,
something fatter.
Yeah, I think it's a 90 something or other. I think it's from the 90s. I think so.
Yeah, that's a nice guitar.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's 4 riffs.
4 riffs. Oh, wait, let me get something to write
play at home.
Here.
You need maybe to write something down, or I know you like to write that.
Yeah, I find it very often it's too much to take in one go.
Trying to figure it out.
So let's.
Okay.
Let me get ready here so I can write quickly. Okay. You got enough volume here on it? You need more dirt?
I guess sure.
Okay. I don't. You tell me. You're the Rorschach riffer. Okay. You're
let us. You're talking.
Hold on.
The key to this is just to do it. Don't think about it, because you do think about it, then your hands start sweating. And you're like, oh my god, this is gonna be recorded.
I'm giving you full bass response from the Anniversary Nobles ODR one that I have. Okay, you're sweating.
And my hands
You're literally sweating.
My hands are.
You can't take the heat on this one. That's just my problem. Okay.
Okay, hang on. I just gotta get
You got to get in the zone.
I gotta think of the order that I want to do it in.
Oh, okay.
The last one I didn't do as well as I wanted to. I kind of got hung up on the string, but
Okay, hold on. Okay, 1 and 4.
need to do again.
I don't know. I know 3.
Okay.
3 for sure. I'm pretty sure on that. 2, I believe I know the artist, but not the song. Let's hear them all again.
Okay, we'll do it again.
Oh, and the first one, I've heard it, but I am.
If you want a little more, tell me.
I've got a blank as to what the song is.
If you want a little more, then I can do a little more.
I commend you. The first one was you pulled off quite nicely. Go on. Oh! What is it? Oh, okay.
I'm gonna do that better.
Okay. Yeah. Don't play anymore. I know it. Okay, hold on. I gotta think. Okay. Okay.
Do it again.
Do number 1. I think I almost had it.
Do you want a little more of that? I can give you a little more of
No,
that.
no. Okay, stop. It's am I correct? Am I correct that songs 1 and 2 have a common thread, and that is a Gretsch?
I would say yes. Yes.
Okay, so
And actually, number one, I'll give you this clue. I believe
it's a black Gretsch, Country Gentleman, isn't it?
The first one.
Yeah.
No.
Oh.
I would say it would be opposite of the black. It would be a white bird.
Was it?
I believe it was a white bird, a white falcon. But also that song, I believe, is 40 years old this fall, this year.
Oh dang! What is the name of that
Mid-80s
group? I must say I never liked him.
They played a free show at the Orbit Room, and that was still standing.
If it's a group I'm thinking of. It's not. I know the song. I'm drawing a blank. I remember turning to MTV every time it came on. Okay. Second. Okay.
Okay, the band. Do you want the first?
No.
letter of the name?
I'm good. Okay, I'm still working on number 2. Number 2 is AC/DC. Okay. Is it You Shook Me All Night Long?
No,
See, this is another one of these. Could be multiple songs.
but it's from that album.
Okay, do another. Do a little more.
I can't even do all the lick of it.
Okay, well, is it Money? No.
What'd you do for Money, Honey? No, that's.
Is that on that album?
Yep.
Okay.
I can't think of that.
Okay.
I'll have to do that in another song.
So, what is it? Number 1 is. Don't they have some song where the guy screams fire or something?
They have a song called Fire too. Yeah, Firewoman.
Firewoman, You're
that's
to
from-
Blame.
That's the song.
Oh my
That's from the
gosh.
Sonic Youth or Sonic album.
People are gonna now. I'm probably alienating another part of the audience, but I just I couldn't stand that. To me, it sounded. Well, I mean, I can't say couldn't stand it, but to me, it sounded like it was like an intentional rehash of sort of other stuff that was better done.
It's an argument to be made of that.
Okay, but what? Give me a hint as to the name of the song.
Yeah, okay. She sells.
She sells
I gotta give you
seashells by the seashore. Okay. Well, let's go on to the 3 is Aerosmith, Toys in the Attic.
No,
It's Aerosmith.
it's Aerosmith.
Okay, play it
It's
again.
It's from that record.
Okay. It's Walk This Way. No.
I'm not doing the main part of the riff. I'm doing the walk up part. There was a
Sweet Emotion.
yes.
Yeah, of course it's Sweet Emotion. I just saw the album title. That was the big song on it. Okay, which is the song? I would say Sweet Emotion has one of the best intros of a rock song ever.
But you know what it is though. It's not guitar.
It's let's see. Well, it's a talk box.
Yeah, but the first instrument you hear, the fretted instrument, is a bass.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right.
It's a very cool song.
Yeah, it's got a great intro.
Yeah. And really you could from that song you can pull multiple different things of licks that stand out on their own as hooky things that stick in your ear.
Okay, and the 4th one is Steely Dan, Reelin' in the Years.
That's my attempt at it. Yeah.
All right. The late. So who are the founding members of Steely? Who are the two? There's Donald Fagen and who's the other guy?
Becker, but what was
Walter Becker.
Walter Becker.
He bought a Strange Master from us and was touring with it.
Did you? Now I saw after unfortunately Walter Becker died, he had an auction and big all his equipment. Did you see that in the auction?
No, the funny part of it is his tech called me and said that like he had broken the toggle switch on it.
Oh, really?
And that I said, well, you can send it in and we can repair it, but or I can tell you how to get the part, or he can buy another one. But I gave him the price to repair it because that's not a warranty repair. In fact, we don't do those repairs anymore just because we only do warranty repairs. And that wouldn't have qualified it. But I made an exception for Walter Becker. I never heard back from him.
You never heard back?
But he was touring with it. So but he was well known for really enjoying buying gear.
Oh, his auction, the I remember going through the website, beautifully done, but he had a ton of gear.
Yeah. I mean, good for him. I mean, that's fun.
It's one of the you're a successful musician, you can get good gear. You know?
Okay, so the first one.
You give up, or do you want to
give me a hint to this? It's the name of the band. I'm sure I know the name of the band.
Okay, so they were from the UK. I think the Billy Duffy is the guitar player.
Okay,
he played a white Vulcan.
I thought the Fire one he was playing a black one.
Oh, by the Fire album that was a few years later. I think it was by the late '80s or so. That record was produced by Bob Rock, who produced the Black Metallica album.
I mean, by the way, I'm not.
I think
it's just not my preference. I mean, it's obviously skillfully done, but it just never was a fan. Okay, give me a hint of the name. I know. They're supposed to know that. I know the name.
Well, or '85, I believe. The album was from the
to give me a phonetic
was,
equivalent. It sounds like
Galt. No,
Galt.
It's somewhat like that. The album was the album was called Love. It's a black record.
Give me the name of the band. Give me a hint on the name of the band. Something phonetically similar. Is it a one-word name?
It's one word.
The Cult. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you said Galt, and it's not a word, but
What's a town or it's a person's name?
Galt.
Yeah.
Okay, the cult. Yeah,
And then originally, you know what they were called?
what?
Originally, it was shortened to the cult, but they were called the Southern Death Cult.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, the AC/DC second song.
I can't remember all the chords. Something to do with firing a gun.
Am I getting it right
Yeah,
there?
Something about
Shoot me. Is it shoot? It was shoot something.
Shoot to thrill.
Shoot to throw. Oh, that's it. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I knew it was that's interesting though. That was the shortest of them. I knew it was AC/DC.
Yeah. I figured you'd get that. I thought you'd get that.
There's a real skill in that. No joke.
Just coming up with that?
Well, no, to come up with something that's that simple and have it immediately identifiable who it is.
Yeah. I wonder if it's because they always had the same setup too. You know, they just.
Well, it's all about the sort of the choice of the core. You know, it's timing and like it's amazing that they can communicate that much with the kind of the sort of chordal choice, the timing, the little riff that leads up to it, and the attack. But it's very simple.
Yeah.
But very effective and very signature.
Well, one of
my favorite bands, AC/DC. Seriously.
Oh no! I always go back to Back in Black. It's like that was the first record that I discovered. My brothers weren't into AC/DC because I had two older brothers, and they played a lot of stuff that they had big sound stereo system, so you heard a lot of stuff. But that was the band that I discovered on my own, and it was like. These, the Back in Black album was my sort of entry into AC/DC, and then heard all the Bon Scott stuff after that. But
turn off my phone before I start these things.
But another thing of note, when they were doing some of their more recent records, the ones that they've toured on the last 10, 15 years or so, they came, and when Malcolm was still alive, they went to Vancouver, Canada, and recorded. And I think they had all these riffs ready to go because they had stockpiled stuff.
Fun fact: they rehearsed. They did their rehearsal for which tour was it? Where they rehearsed? They went to River City Studios here in Grand Rapids,
which was at that time it was down near on Jefferson.
Yeah, they did their. Was it the U.S. tour or world tour rehearsal that they did here?
I think it was in 2000. I know that.
And did you tell me this? I think actually an assistant told me this because at the time I was doing Throwback. Actually, it was right as I was starting Throwback, but I was a commercial photographer out of the same space. And one of the guys I hired as an assistant, or either that or you told me this, but I think it was assistant said that they had helped set it up. Because they moved all of their gear there, and they had a road case full of cigarettes.
Well, they're
did I hear that from you?
I believe it because their brand.
I think it was.
You probably can't buy them here in the States.
Yeah, because a lot of the guys you hire for assistants, they basically they knew photography stuff, but they'd get hired for I think kind of like stage setup too. Some of them, and. That was the story I heard.
Yeah, whatever tour it was the album that came out in about 2000. And I think they also used the Deltaplex to set up their
stage
show, to do all the lighting and get all the kinks worked out.
Yeah, it's interesting that they'd pick here. I guess it's sort of a rock and roll market.
Yeah.
Did they have their first show here?
I don't know if they ever did play the Van Andel. Because they would do such huge shows.
Yeah.
But Van Andel was only, a hockey arena. So.
Okay. Well, all right, Matthew, we're done with the Rorschach riffs.
Okay.
So we will put your guitar away here. Let's give you a drum roll here, and we'll go back to the. I'll put this away. Okay.
Do you have that?
We're gonna
I'll start with the
into
Bonhams auction.
your musical musings.
I'll do my quick musical music.
Yeah,
The
so-
Bonhams had an auction yesterday.
What are we looking at here?
We are looking at a Gary Moore signature heritage guitar that was made in Kalamazoo, Michigan, for the guitarist.
So there's
Gary
a connection with the region.
The region, and with Gary Moore, who unfortunately passed away how many years ago. But there was an auction in London yesterday where a bunch of his old amplifiers and equipment and guitars. But this was a signature model that was made in 1989 in Kalamazoo, and for Gary Moore, who's most famously associated with the.
During his EMG era. Are those EMGs?
These are EMGs now, which I find amazing because he's associated so much with the Greenie guitar. With
Does it have like custom switching on there? It doesn't, does it? Is it just a 3-way toggle?
I think you're right. I don't see anything other than the.
I thought for some reason it had a phase switch, but maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's a push pull pod on there. I don't know.
Yeah, but I remember seeing one of these for the first time at a tour down at Heritage, and they had their little guitar library.
Yeah, and there was one in there.
There was one in there. It wasn't quite finished, but it did have the EMGs in it, I believe. Because I was thinking, why would Gary Moore be using EMGs? But I guess this was during because he was sort of became well known as a blues guy, but at this time he was still probably better known as a hard rock kind of guitar player. But this sold yesterday at auction for about 10,880 English pounds.
No, we are on just as a heritage side note. We are on I'm currently on a quest for a couple of H150s, and the hunt is narrowing.
Oh, really?
Yes,
I'm hearing
because I like the look of the custom core.
Mm-hmm.
I never was I was never I like heritage. I've got heritage guitars, and I'm a fan of them. I never quite warmed up to the headstock, which is the common
complaint.
I don't know, complaint, but you often hear about them. But I think that they've standardized the headstock size. If you're at all familiar with heritage guitars over the years, they have this headstock shape, but it wasn't always consistent. And they've kind of standardized the shape, and I think their custom core sort of inlay really does balance out the look out of it. And I think it looks great now, And I know there's people that think it looks great the way, prior as well, but kind of like the thing I found a little odd about it, I really do think just having that inlay added and standardizing the headstock shape makes it look good.
Well, some of the old ones, they would be a little bit longer.
Yeah.
A little narrower.
I've got that. I can speak from direct experience. Some are a little longer, some are a little narrower, some are a little wider.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. Is there more here?
And then the most famous or the highest priced instrument that sold yesterday from the Moore collection is this 19. I think there's some question about it. It's a 60 or 61 Fender Stratocaster, but this sold for approximately $330,000.
Wow.
US.
I think I told you too that sort of when I started getting, maybe it was before right when I started getting interested in guitar, I associated Gary Moore with this guitar because I remember guitar
not the
player.
Greenie.
Yeah, not a Les Paul or with this guitar because I remember seeing a picture of him in Guitar Player magazine live playing this.
But everything sold. Apparently it was 100%. There were 70 some odd lots, 76 lots. Everything sold. When I looked at it, there was last night. There was still you could still bid on things. There was a guitar flight case that was valued at about 500 or 600 pounds, and it had a bid of about 200 pounds on it. And that's probably that's
kind of cool.
That's probably worth it. But I couldn't find what that actually sold for today. But they sold everything, and then they earned just over $1 million plus, or £1 million rather plus in total revenue from the sale.
I guess I should say too what the quest for the heritage guitars are.
Oh yes, tell
The
us that.
plan for this is that are we done with the screen there? Should we?
Yeah, you can go back to the.
The plan is we'll have 2 equivalent guitars, and because we get a lot of requests for magnet comparisons, and that we will put in what we call our benchmark set that we use to kind of compare stuff against. It's not on the website, but it'll be so we'll have a sort of reference pickup that we can to reference guitars, and we will do magnet comparisons to satisfy people that are interested, like how does the magnet specifically affect the response of the pickup. And I thought that, well, that's a way to accomplish it, and what better sort of good choice for this. Heritage guitars are nice stuff. I like the Gibsons, but the Heritages are awful nice too. So I just need to acquire the needed guitars, but look for that. Okay, is that it for your musings? Oh no, you've got more musings.
I've got one other item. I promised back in September because I saw a little review for this book.
You've been reading.
This is a book that came out in September. The Cars, Let the Stories Be Told by Bill Janovitz, New York Times bestselling author. He wrote a book on Leon Russell, but let me see if we can get that picture there. Anyway, so this is a sort of a 300-plus page book. No, sorry, it's almost 500 pages with notes and everything on the Cars, and it covers all the bands sort of lead up to the beginning of the Cars, how each band member came in, and then it goes through each album, and then.
Is there much gear talk in it?
There isn't. I can't find a whole lot of gear talk. That's what I was kind of hoping, and I think it focuses more on the development of the band, their influences, and then like all stories about bands that are successful, like how things kind of dwindled down, and then some infighting and things. But there is a lot of talk about their musical influences and how things came to be. I can't remember the name of the band because Benjamin Orr and Rick Ocasek go back to 10 years. They'd known each other before the band was established. But I think they met in Ohio somewhere. But they'd played in these kind of folky bands and recorded. I can't remember the name of the band right now, but it's on. If you do a little quick search, you can listen to the stuff on Spotify. But very of that sort of early 70s kind of acoustic guitar, folky sounding kind of music, totally different from the
Okay,
Cars.
here's the throwback fun fact.
Okay, go ahead.
Elliot Easton bought a Stonebender from us
Oh, really?
years ago, and I was, it was here working, and the phone rang, and it was him calling to tell me he loved the pedal. I think he just ordered it online, and he said, "Oh, I'm in a restaurant right now, but I wanted to let you know I love the Stonebender."
That's a nice little call.
Yeah, and and I've always loved. I mean, I always loved the precision of his playing.
Oh yeah, no, it's great.
And I think the best compact rock guitar solo is the solo in Candio.
Candio, this one you like?
Yeah, it's like it's very short, but it's like explosive.
I'll tell you a little Candio story then too that is out of the book. The drummer David Robinson wanted to get Vargas to do the cover, and then realized, is he still alive? Because he had retired from the business in '74. They had people find him. I guess he was out in California. He was willing to do it. Somebody went over and talked to him. He said he was willing to do it, and was kind of wanted to get back into doing art, but was worried that he couldn't do it anymore. So they created a little photo shoot with a model actress, and her name was Candy Moore.
Oh, I see. This is where
I think that may be where the title comes from.
Makes sense.
They did a photo shoot, and then from those photos, they gave those to Vargas. He came up with the title, the cover for the album artwork based on those photos, and lo and behold, everybody loved it. It's David Robinson's favorite cover, and Vargas started working again, and I think he was maybe in his 80s by the time he did that cover. But it said in the book, it said that David Robinson started dating the model.
Oh my!
So he was. I guess they had no shortage of girlfriends, because people throwing themselves at them. They had. Rick Ocasek obviously famously married Polina Porsnikova. So.
Yeah.
But in terms of the only thing that I could find, it talked a little bit about Elliot Easton's having a 77 Les Paul Standard that he put DiMarzio Super Distortions into, and that was heavily used on the first record.
I think I've seen if it's guitar. I think I've seen him perform live with that. Was it Red? I think it's Red.
Is it Red?
I suspect so.
Like a solid or a burgundy?
I think it was like my recollection is it's translucent red.
And then they talk about
cherry, sort of like that 335.
Rick Ocasek had a 74 Jazzmaster that was originally Sunburst that was painted that Pepto-Bismol pink. My brother had a poster of that on his bedroom wall. I remember that pink guitar. I think that's kind of a neat looking guitar. There is a nice little story that's recounted, and I think maybe the writer of the book got it from Vintage Guitar magazine, of Elliot Easton being at the NAMM show in Chicago in '79 and running into the owner of a Long Island music store called, what was his name? His name was Sam. What was his name? Bernie Grayson. And he had ordered a left-handed. Elliot Easton was obviously a left-handed guitar player, everybody knows. He ordered a left-handed Tele in late 1970, and then would bug him continuously if it had to come into the store. And eventually, the owner of the store, Grayson's, gave him a loaner guitar to use in the meantime. And then the guitar came in, and obviously he took possession of it and everything. But years later, so this is 9 years later, and he came up to him, Elliot Easton did, to the owner of the store, and said, "Hey, I don't know if you remember me, but I was the guy that used to come in and bug you all the time." And he knew who he was and knew he'd become successful in the cars, and then, said, "Wait here, I want my wife to meet you," and then brought his wife over and said, "This is the kid I was telling you about." So he was kind of like this nice little he said it was a nice little kind of this amalgamation of all this childhood kind of obsession with guitars, and then having this great success that he was having at that period in his career. So interesting. But the book's good. It's got a lot of, if you're a Cars fan, you'll discover stuff you didn't know.
Well, good. Oh, by the way, Paul is not on the show today, but he's working hard out there. He was.
We couldn't have him on camera.
Well, he was moving around so much. I thought I don't know where to put the camera.
We got to. That's good to be busy at Christmas time.
We got a lot of people. Orders kind of pre-Christmas for dealers, and we have to gear up for the throwback Black Friday sale.
Tell them when it's going to be on. It's a change from this coming week.
It's going to be Friday.
So episode number 29 will come out on Friday.
It's going to come out on Friday. We'll showcase the stuff that's going to be on sale. This is the one sale we do a year. And
it'll be this Black Friday / Cyber Monday.
That's right.
Sale.
And
those 4 days.
You can look forward to that, and we will see you Friday.
All right. Thanks
again.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.